Many thanks, Andrea. Good morning, everyone. Very nice to see you here in the room and online. I don't see you, but I know you are there. So my name is Isabelle Mars. I work at the European Commission at DG Defense, which is the part of the Commission in charge of defense and space. So I work, of course, in the part dedicated to the space. And as Andrea said, I'm coordinating the Horizon Europe program for space. So I will give you an overview of what we have for space in the 2023 and 2024 work group. First, it's just to give you an overview of the Horizon Europe program and where we fit into that. The program is divided into 3 pillars, and we are in the second pillar, more specifically in Cluster 4, which is also grouping digital industry and of course space. But, and that is important for you to know, there are also opportunities for space projects in Pillar 1 and in Pillar 3. In Pillar 1, it's really more a bottom-up science, but there are opportunities in the European Research Council and in maritime actions. And in Pillar 3, there are opportunities under the European Innovation Council. So I do encourage you to also go and visit those programs. Okay, so what I'm going to present to you today, so the work program for 2023-2024 for Cluster 4, and more specifically for space, will be implemented in 4 different ways, and therefore it will be split in different cores and procurements. So I want to give you this explanation so that you know what to find where. A big part of the work program is actually implemented by an agency of the European Commission called HaDIA. And they have already opened the 2023 call in December, but you have until the 28th of March to apply, so it's still open. And they will do the same for the work program 2024, about a year after, so it will open in November this year. Then there will also be a call from USPA, another agency of the European Commission, for everything focused on applications, be it from Galileo, from EGNOS, Copernicus, GovSatcom, PRS, so everything related to applications. Both the calls from HaDIA and the calls from USPA are published at the same place, which I will show you in the next slide. So that's very easy to find. Then we also have a part of the work program which is implemented by ESA, the European Space Agency, who publishes them on its own portal. So that is a little bit more complicated. But normally, we, the Commission, we inform the participating countries. So I will inform Andrea whenever a call from ESA is published, so that she can send you the link. You do not have to worry about finding it. And finally, there is a little part of the work program, just 1 or 2 topics, which is published directly by the Commission, but that is also at the same place as the calls from HaDIA and USPA. So that's what I wanted to show you. We have a website called EU Funding and Tender Portal, where you will find the publication of the calls from HaDIA, USPA, and also from the Commission. Just a little last word of background. We have several types of actions. I will present them all to you. Some are what we call research and innovation actions. They are funded up to 100% of the eligible costs. Then we also have actions called innovation actions. They have a higher TRL, so they are closer to market, closer to commercialization. And there we fund up to 70% of the eligible costs. And finally, as you will see, we have two coordination and support actions. They are more providing a structure for other projects, and there we fund the cost at 100%. So I want to give you, before I dive into the topics, another brief overview of how the topics are split for the year 2023 and the budget is split. So for 2023, we have a total budget of 290 million euros, which is divided into 11 areas and 29 topics. I will present you those 29 topics. And of course, you will receive my slides because I know I'm going a bit fast compared to all the information on the slides. Oops, I'm sorry. And for 2024, we have a smaller budget of 200 million euros, but split amongst less topics, only 9 areas and 16 topics. I will start with the first area, which includes 3 topics. I will present 2 of them because the last one will be presented after my presentation. So 3 topics. One is really focused on Earth observation. The other one is focused on the future space ecosystem and all the enabling technologies that should be part of that ecosystem. And the last one is what I just talked about, the management and coordination activity to support the general area. So let me start with the topic dedicated to end-to-end Earth observation systems. I will not go into the details of the PowerPoint because this we can read at this. But I will focus on the scope and, of course, the general aspects of the topic. First of all, it is a topic with a budget of 10.1 million, and we anticipate to fund more or less 4 projects with that budget, which means that each project is probably going to have a budget between 1 and 2.5 million. It is an innovation action, so those types of actions that have, of which we cover the cost up to 70%. And we will use this time, it's the first time we use it, a system of lump sums, which will be explained to you later this afternoon. And we target a TRL by the end of the project of more or less 5 to 6. But rest assured, every time I tell you that's an indicative TRL, it's only an indication. So you will not be penalized if, for a good reason, you would have lower or a higher TRL. Again, it's indicative. We do not want to preset everything upfront. So, what is the scope of this topic? Basically, you can choose one of the 3 scopes that is up here on the screen that I will read out. So you do not need to cover all 3 of them. Only one is sufficient. But of course, you need to indicate clearly which one it is. It will be quite obvious from the proposal. The first area is Earth observation technologies based on a network of small satellites with innovative capabilities. The second area that you can choose is satellite data management and processing, including image processing and infrastructure and networks for ground processing and virtual networks. And the third area is everything related to the identification, development, and implementation of artificial intelligence in industrial processes needs in order to foster digitalization. So that is for our first topic. The second topic I only show here on the screen because it will be presented later on in more details. So I move directly to the management and coordination activity, which basically can be which can basically be seen as the follow-up or the continuation of Preparación, because Preparación is ending in a few months. So this, of course, is a relatively small action with a budget of 2 million, and we will fund only one project because it does not make sense to have several such coordination activity running in parallel. The scope is rather similar to what was included in Preparación, so it is, well, dissemination and outreach activities, so more communication focused, international dialogue, and also participation in standards setting. It's basically helping the other projects in their strategic questions, into their programmation. It's also verifying and possibly evolving the existing principles and guidelines that have been developed by Preparación. It's the development of the further development of pathways for the maturation and space qualification of technologies, as well as the definition of pathways for innovative and promising applications and services in the area of future space ecosystem. So that is for the first area, which we call competitiveness. The second area is access to space. So everything which has to do with launches, but also the launch facilities themselves. There we have 3 topics, all of them in 2023, so we don't have access to space topics in 2024. The first topic is focused on low cost but high cost operation. The second one is focused on new space transportation solutions and services. And the last one is focused on the launch facilities, but also the test and production facilities for the launches being modern, flexible, and efficient. One little word which is specific to access to space and some other topics is that we have a restriction of the participation to those 3 topics because they are seen as sensitive for the interests and security of the EU. So when you form a consortium, you have to choose between the EU member states as well as Iceland and Norway. We put here on the slide also the UK, but of course we are not certain that the UK will have an agreement in place for Horizon Europe by the time we have to sign the grant agreements. The situation doesn't look very positive at this point in time, so if there are UK consortium partners and if there is not an agreement in place with the UK by the time the grant agreements are signed, those partners will not be able to receive funding. They are allowed to participate, but then without funding. All what I want to say is that if you include UK consortium partners, there is a certain level of risk that they cannot receive funding. So let's go to the first topic, which is focused on low cost and high trust propulsion, as I said. It is a big topic. We have a budget of 20 million euros, and we will give it to only one project, because what we want to see in that project is sizable and, of course, costly. What we ask is that the project addresses the maturation of enabling technologies, building blocks, tools, processes, system tests, everything for low-cost, high-trust propulsion, and also demonstrates those technologies by 2026. So we want to have an engine firing test by 2026. And all those technologies, building blocks, tools, and processes must be applicable to the strategic launchers able to launch new space program components. Okay. Here we are a little bit in moving ground, because what are the strategic launchers? Well, today we know we have only used Ariane, and so what is left to be used today, if we would have to launch tomorrow, is Ariane 6 and Vega C, but there can also be other solutions coming up with time. So those other solutions can then also be coming to play, as long as they can launch the components of the new space program, which are Galileo, Atlas, Copernicus, and in the future, Ares Square. Those are the main elements that I wanted to say. Then the next topic is focused on new space transportation solutions and services, where in terms of scope, we can choose between two areas. So first of all, I should say that this topic has a budget of 23.1 million, and we anticipate to fund more or less 4 projects, meaning that each project would have a budget of between, it's a wide range of course, but between 4 to 10 million. And a targeted TRL of between 5 and 6. Coming back to the scope, two scopes, two elements can be focused on, and we can choose only one of the two. The first one are the technologies for recovery of space transportation vehicle elements. So we want to perhaps have the entry of launcher elements that we would then be able to recover. Also potentially reuse. And that also includes technology maturation for micro launchers. And then the second area is space transportation technologies in support of in-orbit servicing systems. Indeed, we want to start being active in in-orbit services. And as you will read in the complete whole text, we ask that all activities are, of course, complementary and coherent with what ESA is doing as well in that way. Then, the last topic under access to space is focused on the test, production, and launch facilities of those launches. Here, we have a total budget of 10 million euros. We anticipate to fund more or less 3 projects, meaning that each project would have a budget of more or less between 2 and 5 million. And we have a targeted TRL of 5%. The scope is really focused on cost reduction and improving the flexibility of the European launch systems, also their interoperability, and we can choose either one of those 2 following focuses, or possibly the 2 together. On the one hand, a multi-site flexible platform, and on the other hand, standardized and cost-effective innovative technologies to improve the cost efficiency of those test and launch facilities, as well as their interoperability and their attractiveness to new users. So that was for access to space. We can now move to the third area, which is quantum technologies, where we have 2 topics in 2023 and 1 in 2024. We have, on the one hand, quantum communication technologies for space, and on the other hand, quantum space gravimetry. Quantum space gravimetry is bigger in scope and especially budget, as you will see, because we want to go up to an actual in-space mission by 2030. And so we start with, in this work program, the phase A, which is a study, and the phase B, which is a more extended study and also technology maturation. So let's take a closer look at these three topics. So the first one is focused on quantum communication technologies that we use in space. It has a budget of 5 million euros for funding two projects, more or less. Basically, what we would like the project to deliver is a support to establish the new IRIS Square. On my slide, it's still written a secure connectivity program, but in the meantime, that program has received a name, IRIS Square, to ensure the sovereignty and the non-dependence of the EU in the development of quantum key distribution, QKD, and to enhance the TRL of the critical components necessary to build quantum key distribution. Those components, they are clearly defined in the code text. I don't show them on the screen, but you will find them in the code text, the list of those components. And the second topic is related to the quantum space gravimetry. So the first step towards the mission, so it's the phase A study. Here we have a budget of 2 million euros for funding two studies in parallel, because we want to make sure that one of them at least is successful. And there, the purpose is to assess the feasibility of the quantum space gravimetry pathfinder mission, to propose a mission, system, and operation concept, and to establish the list of critical components for that mission. And the next and last topic for quantum is the one in 2024, which is then the follow-up. It's also focused on quantum space gravimetry, but it is the phase B study and also the technology maturation. So there, we want the project, I forget to say that we have a budget of 14.2 million euros, but it's for funding one project because it's a very sizable one. And we want that project prepared to further prepare the implementation of the space gravimetry pathfinder mission. So it is basically the definition of the mission in a more extended way. So that project has to cover both the payload and the satellite platform for the mission, including the implementation measures to enhance the technological readiness of the critical components, which again are defined in the text. So that's for quantum. Quantum is a new area that we started to activate in 2021. It has a lot of potential for space, especially but not only for Earth observation. We now have the fourth area, which is Copernicus. The Copernicus from the side of the services, because later I will also speak about Copernicus from the side of the applications. So here we have 6 topics, 4 of them in 2023, the other 3 in 2024, which will cover all of the services and also the on-ground component of Copernicus. And the general objective of these topics is to ensure the continuity of the services, but based on the newest technologies, which are evolving quite fast. So I will give you the most important element. You will also find all the details in the code text. And on top of the code text, we have also prepared and published a specific guidance document, which I encourage you to read. So let's go to the first topic. It's the one focused on the atmosphere and climate change, as well as CO2 monitoring. We have a budget of 8.6 million, and we anticipate to fund more or less 4 projects that each would have, well, 3 to 4 projects that each would have a size of more or less 2 to 3 million. And the scope, it can be one of those 3 areas, so you can choose, of course. One is the focus on the CAN, so the Copernicus for atmosphere, Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service. The second one is focused on C3S, so Copernicus Climate Change Service. And the last one is, of course, focused on CO2 NPS, so CO2 emissions monitoring and verification support. Each time with the aim of advancing the technologies used to deliver the service. Then we have the second topic is focused on the emergency management service. It has a budget of 3 million, and we will fund only one project of 2 million. The scope is again to come up with innovative methods and technologies for all emergency-related applications linked to that service. So we are seeking for enhancement, automation, new elements, new services complementing the core services, and providing added value to the users. There is a rather long list of expected outcomes. I will let you read it at least, and we ask that at least 3 of those outcomes is pursued by the project in question. The third Copernicus topic is the one focused on in-situ components, so basically the ground infrastructure. We have a budget of 2 million for funding one project, but also 2 million more. The scope is focused on the sustainable reuse of in-situ data collected by Copernicus, innovative observation strategies, the synergistic use of complementary types of service observations, and the application of machine learning technologies for the quality control of the observations. Let's now look at the fourth topic. It's the one focused on the Marine Environment Monitoring Service. There as well, we anticipate to fund only one project, but a rather important one of more or less 4 million. In terms of scope, we are looking for a project that addresses services for coastal zones, for policy implementation, conservation, resilience to climate change, and sustainable blue economy. We have divided it into 3 sub-areas. One is to develop a pan-European satellite coastal observation retrievers in high resolution. The second one is to develop improved inputs of freshwater flows and methods to couple hydrological models with the service. And the third one is to develop coupling technologies between the service and downstream coastal modeling systems. Of course, it's rather specific and technical, but those of you involved into those areas will grasp what it is about. The fifth topic, and now we move to 2024. You remember the last 2 topics for Copernicus services, they will be published in the 2024 fall. It's the one focused on the land service and the water service. It has a budget of 4 million, funding more or less 2 projects. And here, one can choose again one of the 2 following areas of focus. The first one is, of course, focused on land monitoring service. So it is innovative methods to integrate the current land products into land surveys, land use, and cover change. And the other one is, of course, focused on the water monitoring. So it's the integrated product provision system using innovative methods and observations to improve the portfolio of the current inland and coastal shore hydrological satellite observation methods. And the last Copernicus topic, focused on security, has a budget of 3 billion euros, and we anticipate to fund more or less 2 projects. There as well, there are 2 possible areas in terms of the scope. It can be either innovative methods and technologies to explore new and enlarged data sets, and the development of applications addressing requirements which are currently not yet addressed by the service, or it can be actions in support to the evolution and the scope of the service, such as increasing the user reach, responding to specific regional needs, and increasing the added value of the service in user population scenarios. So that is for that specific and very technical area of the Copernicus services. Then we move to the 5th area, which basically puts together space science and technological non-dependence. We have 3 topics, 2 of them in 2023 and 1 of them in 2024. The first topic in 2023 is focused on space science, and more specifically, the exploitation of space data. We have a total budget of 10.7 million, and we anticipate to fund quite a lot of projects, because normally those projects are rather small, between 1 and 1.5 million. And the TRL level for this one makes sense. We're talking about space science is rather low, 3 to 4. So here we have the challenge that all the European missions, because many of them from the European Space Agency, but also some of them from the EU, generate tremendous amounts of data. But what we notice is that that data is not sufficiently exploited to advance science, or it is exploited but not by EU actors. To be very clear, what we see is US actors jumping, even Chinese actors jumping on the data that we make available and using it to advance science in there for them. We really would like EU actors to also take advantage of that wealth of data. So that is basically the scope. So it's the exploitation of all acquired and available data provided by space missions, whether in their operative, post-operative, or data exploitation phases. Of course, in complementarity with ESA and national agencies, which sometimes also use and exploit that data. So projects may rely on data available through Copernicus Data and Information Access Services, through the ESA Space Science Archives, when possible, or other means, and combination and correlation of the data with international scientific mission data, or data produced by ground-based infrastructures, is strongly encouraged. Of course, those activities shall add scientific value through analysis of the data, leading to scientific publications and higher level data products, tools, and methods. And international cooperation is encouraged in this. So that is for the space science topic, which is only in 2022. Usually we have it every other year. So that the next one will be 2022. Then we have an area which we also started a few years ago, but has become more important given the geopolitical situation. It is the space technologies for European non-dependence. Indeed, so far, we are still strongly dependent on other regions of the world for our space activities. Just to name an obvious case is the Soyuz rockets, to mention Galileo satellites, but okay, that's of course the elephant in the room, but there are many, many smaller but important cases. And it is, of course, important that we develop a European capability in those critical technologies, that we stop depending on other regions of the world. So that's why we are putting more focus than before on technological independence. In 2023, we will have a budget of 20.1 million to fund many projects of the size of more or less 2 to 3 million each. We have TRLs which vary a lot, targeted TRLs which vary a lot between 4 or 8, because it depends on the technology, and there is a list of technology in the 2023 topic and then another list in the 2024 topic. So the expected outcome is basically what I said, it's to reduce the dependence on critical space technologies and capabilities from outside the EU, to regain European capacity to operate independently in the space world, to improve the competitiveness of the European space industry, and to provide new opportunities for European manufacturers. And also to explore synergies, because things may be developed for space and used in other areas and vice versa, so spin-off or spin-in. What is important here is that, like for access to space, it's also a domain in which we restrict the participation to EU member states, Iceland and Norway. Obviously, we talk about security and independence aspects of the EU. So in your consortium members, you can only consider EU or Iceland and Norway partners. There is here on the screen the list of the 2023 components. I will not go into it, you can read it, it's fairly technical, of course. And we have also published an additional technical guidance document because it is necessary together with the report. Something else which I would like to say still on this topic is that it is a bit different than other topics when it comes to the proposal. There is indeed a higher level of requirements in presenting your proposals. Namely that we ask already in the proposal to really describe the technologies or the processes used, but especially to show that they are free of any non-EU legal export restrictions or limitations, for obvious reasons. The companies that, if there are companies in the consortium that have a multinational nature, they will also be subject to an additional eligibility check, which we call the ownership control assessment, and which will be explained to you later on today. And finally, there is a legal obligation that for a period of up to 4 years after the end of the project, the access rights to the use of the products or the processes or both generated by the project are given to European entities. So there is a reservation of using the outcomes within the EU for up to 4 years after the end of the project. Again, I think for obvious reasons. Then the last topic under this area is basically the same, it's technological space technologies for European non-dependence. It's the same as in 2023, except of course with a different list of technologies. So this was for the area 5. We now come to area 6, which is everything related to space situational awareness. Here, very important, there is already a pre-identified beneficiary. So you are not going to make proposals directly for this, because the identified beneficiary is the EU SST partnership. But this partnership is composed mainly of space agencies, and for Spain, it is CPTI, who is part of the EU SST partnership. And those entities will, of course, publish themselves some procurements to be able to deliver. So it is from those procurements that you will be able to benefit. And there will be more or less a 1-year delay, because those actions under SSA will publish them in 2024. So we can anticipate that the entities part of the partnership will publish the related procurements more or less in 2025. So that you know how it works. So I have to admit, it's an area which I do not know well. So I will be reading a lot, forgive me for that. Probably certain people around you know it better than I do, but I cannot be expert in everything. Forgive me for that. So basically, there are five topics, again, all published in 2024. The first one is focused on the missions and services. It has a budget of 6 million, and the scope is basically such that the project will contribute to ensuring the full and optimal capacity of the partnership, building on the actions that we have led to the setup of the partnership, basically the actions that have been published in 2020. So what do we have in the scope? We have RNI for collision avoidance service. We have system for debris mitigation. We have system for debris remediation, and we have a service provision portal in that topic. The next one has also a budget of 6 million. And basically, the scope is to study various mission configurations and payload definition, maximize the number of catalog objects and the associated accuracy of that categorization. Analyze as well the partnership gaps and the solutions to fill them in the most cost-effective way. So you can have things like study and assess technical solutions for the development of future SBSS, so a system, in this abbreviation, but it has to do with system and sensors capabilities, explore the use of small satellite solution, develop a European capacity to operate independently, and again, it ties back to the previous area, reduce the dependence on critical technologies and capabilities from outside. The third project is focused on sensors. No, that's the right one. Yes, that's the right one. So, it's focused on mission system and sensors network. So I have mixed up two things. I'm very sorry. What I just explained to you is what is here on the screen. What I did not explain to you is this one. Sorry for that. The wrong line in my English. So the second action of a 6 million euro is basically based on the architecture engineering, the associated development roadmap, and the contribution to technical standardization. So it's basically analyzing the system architecture needs in order to determine how the system has to evolve in the medium and long term at network level, also for data processing and at service level. And then what I told you just before, sorry for mixing up, is this third activity with a bigger budget of 10 million euros, so the one focused on system and sensors. Then the fourth topic under SSA is focused on sensors and processing. It has a big budget of 27.5 million. It's actually the most important activity amongst the five. It has to address the following. First of all, to adapt and improve the technologies already in use in space surveillance and tracking sensors, such as radars, telescopes, and lasers. Second, to specify, develop, and test and pre-integrate improved sensors. Third, to develop innovations for the detection of smaller objects and higher processing capabilities. To develop new detection strategies to cope with an increased number and size of objects. Fourth, to explore new technologies and/or processing algorithms and techniques to develop and implement potential new services developed in the mission and service topic, the first one I presented. Fifth, to improve algorithms for a more agile and accurate cataloging of the growing space objects population and other, but that's a longer list of smaller things which I let you read in the period text. And finally, the last and fifth SSA topic is focused on networking, security, and data sharing. It has a budget of 7 million euros, and the scope is to upgrade the operation centers to improve the current services, which are collision avoidance, fragmentation, and re-entry, adapt them to future user needs and to the space environment, and update the operation centers to new missions and services. So that is for area 6, everything related to SSA. And once again, you know, there is a pre-identified beneficiary for Spain, it is CBTI, but they will publish themselves related documents that they need. We know everything which I have been presented so far is managed by HADIA, so you will find those topics in the course published by HADIA. I remind you that the one for 2023 is currently open until the 28th of March. What I'm going to present now is the what is implemented by USPA. And as I told you at the beginning, it's all the topics related to the applications. The Leo, EGNOS, Copernicus, Propuestas, PLS, etc. But you find them published at the same place, so the Funding and Tender portal. There are only two differences. One is that for USPA, we only have topics this time in 2023, so we put everything in 2023. There will not be anything in 2024. And the second difference is that the whole date is not the same. The publication date for 2022 of the USPA poll is normally only in October this year. I say normally because we find that a bit late and we're trying to anticipate it, but we need to make sure that it works for the resources of the agency, so it is not yet confirmed that it will be before October 2023. So far, October 2023 is the official date. So USPA has 7 topics in 2023. 2 of them are focused on applications for eGNSS, so Galileo, NEMI, and EGNOS as well. One is focused on applications for Copernicus. One is focused on Galileo, EGNOS, Copernicus can be chosen, but in an international partnership. One is focused on GovSatcom uses, and the last 2 are focused on PLS uses. So I start, of course, with the beginning, which is the applications for e-GNSS, Galileo and EGNOS, focused on transitioning towards a green, smart, and more secure society. It has a budget of 3.5 million for more or less 2 topics, because we think that the size per topic would be between 1.5 and 2.5 million. And it is a high TRL topic, so very close to the market, 7 to 9. I would let you read the expected outcomes for the sake of time, but what is the scope? The scope is basically to leverage the existing services, building, of course, on their specific added value, to develop technologies that focus on the commercial exploitation of one of the following 2 areas. The first area is improving the quality of life in cities. So it's everything related to mobility, energy efficiency, and environmental friendliness. It can also cover personal assistance and healthcare support to the elderly and city dashboards. So it's fairly wide, as you can see, as long as it is focused on the quality of life in cities. The second area is addressing the challenge of higher reliance on existing infrastructure. Reliance in terms of, reliance against cyber threats, for example, and things like that. So proposals may cover applications for example, claim assessment, so the field of insurance, timestamping of transactions, so the field of finance, commodities trading and risk assessment, certification of GNSS-based timing equipment. It could also be in the area of energy sector, emphasizing the increased share of electricity from renewables, etc. And it can also include synergies with Copernicus and GovSat. So that's the first topic. The second topic, still focused on Galileo and EGNOS. This has a budget of 8 million for several projects, between more or less 4, because each project has a size of between 1.5 and 2.5 million. And again, we are very close to the market, so the TRL between 7 and 9. Here we are focusing on the mature, regulated, and long-lived markets. It's a nice name to basically say the transport, most of the transport areas. So if we move directly to the scope, we will see that we can choose between 4 areas of scope. The first one is rail, so how to improve the application of Galileo and EGNOS to improve rail transport. The second one is everything related to maritime transport, so coastal areas, harbor, and the maritime areas themselves. The third is again focused on road, but also road and automotive markets, so cars, trucks. And the last one is, of course, focused on aviation, including drones. There. And again, so we have 4 areas. I think it's a mistake that we have a bullet for the last sentence. The sentence is again to say that synergies with Copernicus and GovSat may be included as well. So that is for the second topic. The third topic is now focused on Copernicus itself, specifically applications for businesses and for policy making. It has a budget of 7 million to develop several projects, because the average size would be 1.5 million more or less. And it has actually a low TRL this time, so we're not necessarily very close yet to the commercialization. What is important to know is that all services of Copernicus may be included. Of course, the proposal does not need to address them all. It can address one of them or several of them, or possibly all of them, depending on the exact nature of the project. And you have here in the whole text more explanation of what exactly we are looking for each of the services. Then the fourth project topic, as I will say it in the introduction to this area, is the one focused on the cooperation with international partners. It's basically the one where we are looking for expanding the use of Galileo, EGNOS, and Copernicus applications outside of the EU. It has a budget of 6 billion to fund more or less between 6 and 8 different projects. Targeted TRL is medium, 3 to 4. And basically, in terms of scope, we ask that the proposals cover one or up to 3, 1, 2, or 3 of the outcomes. So we'll go back to the outcomes. First outcome would be the use of eGNSS and sharing expertise outside of the EU. Second is the use of Copernicus data outside of the EU. The second one is the combined use of eGNSS and Copernicus outside of the EU. And in terms of whom to cooperate with outside of the EU, we ask to choose between to choose for entities established in countries that have signed an administrative cooperation arrangement on Copernicus data access and Earth observation data exchange. And there is an exceptional eligibility for the following countries: United States, Australia, Ukraine, Chile, Colombia, Serbia, African Union member states, India, and Brazil. So we have seen that each project should focus on 1, 2, or 3 of the expected outcomes. We also ask to explore the value added of integration of Earth observation data with positioning data in ICT. I think the most important information. We now move to the fifth topic, which is based on the use of GovSatcom. So the GovSatcom service. That topic has a budget of 10 million to fund more or less 3 to 4 projects. Again, it has a high TRL, 7 to 9. And the eligibility, that is important to know. We ask that there is at least in the consortium one public entity, because the public entities are the main users of the GovSatcom service. So, what is the scope? The scope is that the proposals should select at least one GovSatcom use case and support the adaptation of one or more existing SATCOM terminals in order to do the demonstration of the use case and to ensure the engagement of the relevant user communities. We especially encourage the following 3 areas. First, disaster response or emergency services. Second, rail traffic management, focused on improving limitations linked to geographical barriers, such as crossing valleys or crossing cities. And third, telemedicine for humanitarian aid. And the equipment should support demonstration activities of the early developed services. That is for example. Then we come to PRS. First, it's a little bit the same as for GovSatcom. It's basically a user case. So it's the Galileo PRS service for governmental authorized use cases. So we ask, first, it has a budget of 9 million And we anticipate to fund more or less 5 projects. Targeted TRL is 5 years. The proposals should identify, design, and create applications, leveraging the items for the first generation of regular. Applications should address the governmentally authorized user communities and scenarios for which the technical, operational, and security related features requirements of PRS are so far barriers to entry. So a PRS user kits. And the last topic are joint test activities for the Galileo PRS service. Here we have a budget of 3 million for funding 2 projects, targeted TRL 6 to 7. And what we ask are that proposals are coordinated by the competent PRS authorities and address actions related to, first, validation and verification of the PRS service. Second, testing of the PRS service and of PRS items. And third, prepare awareness activities and update by authorized users. So that was what I wanted to present for the call that USPA will launch. So all those 7 topics will be included in the call and published normally in April. And they're all focusing on applications, as you understand. Then go ahead to the class.
Will open in 23, but as you know, today in the afternoon we will have a preparation for proposals workshap, and we are including the 22 call for EUSPA, but it is still open now. It will be open until 2nd of March, and you can find it, as Isabel said, in the funding and tenders program. However, in order to find the topics, you will have to type EUSPA in the searcher, okay? So as I said, the 22 call, we had the info day the 3rd of November already about the 22 call for EUSPA is already open and will close 2nd of March. And the topics she's explaining today are the future topics that will open in October, because she's explaining the work program 23-24. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Yes, indeed. That was an important, something important to make clear. Thanks a lot, Andrea. Okay, so the 8th area, which I would like to, which is in the work program 23-24, is everything related to Cassini, and Cassini is basically the name that we give to all our actions related to supporting space entrepreneurship. So what we have in the work program for 23-24 is 3 topics. One, My EU Space, I will tell you what it is. The second one is for a business accelerator, and the third one is for hackathons and mentoring. And it's not the first time, because we started Cassini already in 2021. So first of all, Cassini My Space, it's a new activity, but it's a small one. It has a budget of 1 million. And basically what we want to do is to enhance the development of innovative commercial solutions based on data and information coming from, on the one hand, Copernicus satellite images, and on the other hand, Galileo positioning signals and services, but in a way that addresses specific EU priorities such as the Green Deal, digitalization, resilience, and all others. So it's a small activity which works with several cut-off dates, and the first one will be in November. So there is time, and you will find further details in the and when it will be published, because that is published, I forgot to say, that is also published by us. Then we have the business accelerator, which is already ongoing. So here it's a continuation of that activity for a budget of 8.5 million over the 3 years, 23-24. And of course, it's the same principle as what we have already. So we try to support commercial use cases for the space program and the commercialization of the products related to it. And sorry. And the third activity is also a continuation of what we're doing already now. It also has a budget of 8.5 million over the 2 years, 23-24. It's the capitals and the management. And I won't go into the details because again, it's a continuation of what we started doing since 2021, and it's also managed and published by USC. Then we come to the last part of the presentation, which is all the activities which are mostly, I will tell you when it's not the case, but mostly implemented by ESA, the European Space Agency. 2 things to say on that. First of all, and for the time being, everything, all the tenders, opinions which ESA is going to publish about those activities is unfortunately still published on their portal, not the EU funding and tenders portal. But there is a system in place by which I will be informed of the publications, and I will inform all the NCPs, including Andrea, so that she can dispatch to me. I know it's a bit complex, but it should work. And ideally, we will have one day also the ESA activities published on the tenders and the human portal. We are working on that, but it's not yet. Not yet. Secondly, is that it is published and managed by ESA because we delegate, but it is the EU rules that apply. Right? So it's not the geographical return, or it's not the ESA word. It's published by ESA, delegated to ESA, connected by ESA, but under the normal Horizon rules that we are all over. So after having said that, the first activity that we delegate to ESA is related to space weather and near-Earth objects. It has a budget of 5.7 million, and it is split into 2 because it's not exactly the same activities. So for space weather, we ask them the development of technology elements for promising precursor services, including the development, testing, and validation of physics-based space weather models and exploratory space weather payload studies. That's for space weather. And for near-Earth objects, we ask them to study precursor services, the European hot redundant minor planet center method, as well as increased networking of natural assets. I know it's a bit cryptic, say it like this, there is a little bit more detail, but not that much more in the work program, and there will of course be further details in the publication by Anne. Then we have the big parts of the activities focused on EGNSS upstream. What does it mean? It means basically the infrastructure for mainly government. And here we have 3 activities. That starts with the first one, obviously, which is a procurement directly done by the Commission, so it's also published on the tenders and procurement portal, divided into 2 equal activities, one in 2023, one in 2024, each line with a budget of 2.5 million. And what we will ask there in those 2 contracts is to study potential new user needs and determine whether Galileo and EGNOS, as it also includes EGNOS, shall evolve to answer these new user needs. And then after this definition, it will also need to cover the upstream research and development actions cover the assessment of new mission concepts and services improvement or new services and new capacities that need to be introduced based on those new user needs. It's basically support to the Commission in defining the potential evolution of the mission and the services for Galileo and Propuestas. The second activity is a big one delegated to the European Space Agency for a total budget of 86 million euros. It's the biggest activity in our work program. It's half and half in 2023 and 2024. But we know that ESA will not publish just 2 tenders, they will publish more than 10 tenders related to those 2 things. And here what we ask them to do is to ensure the maturing of the existing technologies as well as the development of new and emerging technologies such as low Earth orbit positioning for Galileo and Propuestas. And the third and last activity is one which is delegated to USPA. It's only in 2023 and it has a budget of 5 million euros, and because it's USPA, you can guess that it is focused on applications and operations because they operate in Galileo and Propuestas. So here we ask USPA to improve all the operations that are needed to improve the performance of Galileo and EGNOS services. So it needs to cover the development and the use of service demonstrators to consolidate future EGNOS services, as well as to optimize the operations. Again, that is published by Nacional. So I continue with the 11th area, which is entirely dedicated to ESA, and it is becoming an important one because it's focused on but it's directly related to IRIS Square, so the new upcoming secure connectivity constellation. And we have here in the work program 2023-24 the first activities to develop that new constellation. So the first one is, we call it development and validation. It has a total budget of 48.6 million, split more or less half and half in 2023-2024. Again, dedicated to ESA, and as I said before, we should expect more than just 2 procurements, that we will have to split it into manageable pieces, so it will be probably more than 10 related procurements. Here we ask ESA to develop and validate, to support the development and validation actions for the construction of the initial space and ground infrastructure required for the provision of governmental services. And the second activity is smaller. It's only in 2023 and it's 10 million euros. Is the upstream R&D activities, as we call them. So it's basically the development of the critical building blocks in the space segment, but also on the ground control and in the mission segment, and also the user segment terminals. Connectivity, it will be used for the. And I think it's the last area of my presentation. It's the IOD activity, so in-orbit demonstration and in-orbit validation. And it's also dedicated to ESA. So I will that is the slide I will use to go through. What is it? Is basically that we are paying for either the launch when it's an already ready to fly satellites, or the aggregation on the satellite and then the launch, and also the operations in space, or experiments that need a demonstration or a validation in space in order to be able to to show that they work and to be able to be commercialized. You know it probably because it's already running. We already have it in 21-22, so it is the continuation with a budget of 15.1 billion in 2023 and it's 13 million in 2023. But it will evolve a little bit. So I will try to explain how it will evolve. So for the time being, as I said, we offer launches. We don't pay for the experiments, but we pay for the launches, for the aggregation first, and the operations in space. Experiments which can be innovative technologies, products, concepts, architectures, operation techniques. So they can be instruments, they can be equipment, they can be missions, they can be payload, they can take all of these forms, or they can be, as I said, ready to fly satellites. There are a few requirements which I will let you read for the sake of time. What should be more or less these experiments, but it does not change versus what we have had in the last 2 years. What I wanted to tell you today is that we will evolve that service as of now, as of 2023, both for experiments, but also for EU system integrators, which we call upon to be able to launch those experiments, as well as for the launch service providers, which we also be able to launch those experiments. So for experiments, we are going to have permanently open calls for expression of interest. So there will be cut-off dates. So we will, by a certain cut-off date, see what are the experiments that have applied and make a selection. And then by the next cut-off dates, we will do the same, see what experiments have applied, buy them, and make a selection, etc. For experiments that first need an aggregation, it will be published by the Commission. For ready-to-fly satellites, there will be a joint team between ESA and the Commission. When it comes to system integrators, we will also be procuring CubeSats and small sats and the associated aggregation services, and that will be procured directly by ESA. And for launch services providers, we will publish what we call the flight tickets call for expression of interest to select a pool of possible launchers that will then compete for each specific launch, and that will be published jointly by the Commission and by ESA. So it's an evolution, but it's not a revolution of the IOD services. And this ends my presentation. You have another 2 slides on IOD, but it's a summary of what I said. And you also have my direct contact details should you have questions which cannot be answered today. I hope I was not too long, neither too rushy. Many thanks for your attention, and I wish you a very productive rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabel. Because it's always a luck to have a member of the Commission here with us in Spain present. So I would like to encourage our audience here today to make questions to you. Please don't be shy.
Thanks. So first of all, I apologize because I have asked to your interesting talk just half an hour ago. So I'm not sure if my question is properly formulated. Okay. So yes, my question is related to the non-dependence technologies. Okay, where there are several topics such as those of multi-junction solar cells. Okay. So I have been unable to see the scope of the multi-junction solar cells. Where can I find this scope and requirements, etc., for the non-dependence technologies?
If we understood you correctly, you asked us about the scope for the critical technologies. So in order to find a little bit more information on the critical technologies, you will have a guidance document attached to it. this guidance document has a further description on each of the, let's talk about subtopics or R&D areas that are mentioned on the critical technologies. You will have the guidance document attached. And if you don't find it, please send me an email that I can send it to you.
Okay, thanks a lot to both of you.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Perez from the University of Malaga. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It was so nice, so a lot of information. Well, my question is related to the UK institution, because we are thinking of including one of them in our proposal, but as far as I know, we have to wait until some kind of agreement between UK and EU. If it is signed before the deadline of the proposal, we can include them as an eligible institution, but if not, we can include them as third countries, if I'm right. But do you have any more information about this agreement and the status of the agreement? Do you have any other information?
Well, first of all, it's not until the deadline of the call that you have to wait, but it can be up to the signature of the grant agreement. So it's a few months after the end of the call. So you have a bit more time. But quite frankly, what I have seen so far, and I'm not directly involved in the negotiations, of course, because it's for the whole of the Horizon Europe program, my level of hope is rather low, that there will be an agreement in place. So since the UK has left the EU, in order to be an associated country, we have to sign with them an agreement, and there need to be certain reciprocities included in that agreement. And the negotiations are not leading to an agreement so far. They are rather difficult, let's say. So you may include a UK partner, but it's not certain that that partner will be able to receive funding. Perhaps you will be lucky, and perhaps by the time of the signature of the grant agreement, the Horizon Europe agreement between the EU and the UK will be in place, but today there is no guarantees. My personal level of hope is rather low, but it's only a personal impression.
You will also have more information about this subject in the next presentations that you will have. You will have some information on the restrictions of eligibility, the special conditions that restrict the eligibility of entities to those entities established in the member states or Norway and Iceland. But this is for certain topics, so it will depend on which topic you are referring to. The status of UK will be allowed or not. Then you will also have another presentation on legal aspects in general by Andres Martinez. And he's also a representative on the IGLO group, the international group, and he could give you maybe more information about the status of UK association. Okay. So if you can close your mic, please, or maybe I can do it. Yes, I can do it from here. So thank you very much. If there are no other questions for Isabel, I don't see any more in the chat. Yes, we have a question from the audience.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Perez from the University of Malaga. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. It was so nice, so a lot of information. Well, my question is related to the UK institution, because we are thinking of including one of them in our proposal, but as far as I know, we have to wait until some kind of agreement between UK and EU. If it is signed before the deadline of the proposal, we can include them as an eligible institution, but if not, we can include them as third countries, if I'm right. But do you have any more information about this agreement and the status of the agreement? Do you have any other information?
Well, first of all, it's not until the deadline of the call that you have to wait, but it can be up to the signature of the grant agreement. So it's a few months after the end of the call. So you have a bit more time. But quite frankly, what I have seen so far, and I'm not directly involved in the negotiations, of course, because it's for the whole of the Horizon Europe program, my level of hope is rather low, that there will be an agreement in place. So since the UK has left the EU, in order to be an associated country, we have to sign with them an agreement, and there need to be certain reciprocities included in that agreement. And the negotiations are not leading to an agreement so far. They are rather difficult, let's say. So you may include a UK partner, but it's not certain that that partner will be able to receive funding. Perhaps you will be lucky, and perhaps by the time of the signature of the grant agreement, the Horizon Europe agreement between the EU and the UK will be in place, but today there is no guarantees. My personal level of hope is rather low, but it's only a personal impression.
You will also have more information about this subject in the next presentations that you will have. You will have some information on the restrictions of eligibility, the special conditions that restrict the eligibility of entities to those entities established in the member states or Norway and Iceland. But this is for certain topics, so it will depend on which topic you are referring to. The status of UK will be allowed or not. Then you will also have another presentation on legal aspects in general by Andres Martinez. And he's also a representative on the IGLO group, the international group, and he could give you maybe more information about the status of UK association.
Thank you. Michele Lazzarini from the European Union Satellite Center. First of all, thank you for your presentation. It's very exhaustive. I have a question on a specific call, which is managed by USPA. Space 0143, Copernicus-based application for decision making. If I remember correctly, there was like the idea of having more or less all the services, Copernicus services involved.
Not necessarily all. Huh? You can choose.
Okay.
Yeah.
But one
or several or all.
Yeah. The entrusted entities managing the service are like allowed to participate. Is suggested they participate to this consortium, or there is no specific indication on?
To my knowledge, there is no specific provision on that, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
To be checked in the detailed call text.
Okay.
Sorry for not replying directly.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Isabel. So if there are no more questions, I believe there are no more questions also in the chat. So we will move forward into our agenda.